The rain fell endlessly, covering the streets with a silver shimmer under broken street lamps. The woman walked slowly, pulling her coat tighter, though the cold water still found its way in. Her shoes splashed through puddles, the sound echoing unnaturally loud in the empty night. The city, usually full of distant voices and noise, felt abandoned. Windows were black, shops locked, and the silence pressed heavily against her. She turned down a narrow street, where the rain hit rooftops and poured down like curtains. The air smelled of rust and wet stone. For a moment, she stopped under a crocked awning, brushing wet hair from her face, considering going back, but her feet kept moving, pulling her deeper into the night. At the end of the street stood the apartment building. She had passed it many times before, but never dared to approach. It looked abandoned, its bricks dark and scarred by years, its windows cracked, its doorway sagging like a mouth left open. Water dripped down its steps, each drop echoing in the silence. She stood still, staring at the entrance, her breath uneven, hands trembling. Then something moved. Out of the shadows stepped a small gray and white cat, soaked but calm. Its eyes caught the streetlight, glowing faintly as it rubbed against her leg and purred. She felt a strange comfort in the simple gesture, but before she could reach down, the cat darted away. It leapt up the stairs and vanished into the darkness of the building. The woman hesitated, her heart racing. Every instinct told her to turn around, to leave this place behind. But the silence was thick, and her legs moved despite her fear. She climbed the broken steps, each one groaning under her weight. At the doorway, she paused, staring into the dark hall beyond. The smell of damp air and mold drifted out. Behind her, the rain fell harder, drowning the city in sound. Ahead of her, silence waited. She drew a shaky breath and stepped inside. The moment she stepped inside, the rain outside seemed to vanish. The air was heavy and damp, smelling of mold, rust, and something metallic that made her stomach twist. The narrow corridor stretched before her, longer than it should have been. Shadows pooled along the walls, moving slightly as if alive. Her footsteps echoed against the cracked wooden floorboards. Each creak sounded amplified, like the building itself was protesting her presence. Doors lined the corridor on both sides. Most were closed, some slightly ajar. The paint was peeling, revealing dark stains beneath. She noticed scratch marks on several doors, deep grooves that looked fresh and old at the same time. A faint draft made the flickering bulb above sway. Its weak light created shifting shadows that danced along the walls. She paused, listening, but heard only her own heartbeat and the soft dripping of water somewhere deep in the building. The woman moved slowly, careful with each step. The hallway seemed longer than it should, narrowing and widening unpredictably. Every door seemed to watch her, as if she were being evaluated. The floor beneath her feet groaned, and a sudden squeak made her jump. Her breathing became shallow, each inhalation loud in the oppressive silence. She reached the end of the corridor. A faint outline of a cracked plaster wall caught her eye. Strange symbols were etched into it, jagged lines, some resembling eyes. She stepped closer, brushing away the dust with her fingers. The wall felt oddly warm under her touch. As she pressed forward, the faint sound of dripping water grew louder. Each drop echoed through the hallway, magnifying the emptiness around her. She took another step, and a door at the far end slammed shut. The sound ricocheted off the walls, making her flinch. Her pulse quickened. The shadows seemed to shift again, almost as if they were breathing. She swallowed hard and continued moving. Every step felt like a battle against an unseen force, every creak and whisper of the old building threatening to swallow her whole. At last, she reached the corner where the narrow corridor opened into another room,
or perhaps a hidden passage. The faint draft from the wall grew stronger, carrying a metallic scent that stung her nose. She hesitated, heart pounding, and peered into the darkness ahead. Something was waiting for her there.
The corridor ended abruptly, revealing a cracked plaster wall. Strange symbols had been etched into it, jagged lines forming patterns she could not recognize. Her fingers brushed the dust, and the faint warmth of the wall sent a chill through her. The air here was colder, heavy, metallic, smelling faintly of blood and damp stone. Without thinking, she pressed on. Her steps echoed against the narrow walls, each sound magnified, making the space feel alive. A faint draft brushed past her face, carrying a whisper of movement that wasn't her own. The shadows deepened, stretching unnaturally. She noticed a small opening in the wall, just large enough to squeeze through. Hesitation froze her for a heartbeat, but curiosity and a strange compulsion urged her forward. Sliding through the gap, she scraped her shoulder against rough plaster, the scrape sharp but not painful. Beyond it, the space widened into a hidden room. The room was small, suffocating. Dust covered the floor. Broken furniture leaned against the walls, and torn photographs lay scattered, faces scratched out. The air carried a suffocating sense of abandonment and decay. She stepped carefully, feeling the uneven floor beneath her feet. Her eyes were drawn to a cracked mirror on the far wall. Its glass was fractured into a web of lines. Her reflection looked back, pale and trembling. She reached out, fingers brushing the cold surface. For a moment, everything seemed still. Then, the reflection hesitated, lagging behind her movements. Her pulse quickened. A soft creak echoed from somewhere deep in the room, making her spin around. The shadows seemed to ripple, gathering at the corners as though alive. The air felt thicker, pressing against her chest. Another creak, then a low metallic clang resonated somewhere behind her. She took a cautious step forward, but the room seemed to stretch, its corners elongating beyond reason. The whispers grew faintly, indistinct but insistent, circling her ears. Every instinct screamed to run, yet her legs moved as though drawn by an invisible force. At the far end, a door appeared suddenly. It hadn't been there before. She approached slowly, hand trembling. The metallic scent grew stronger, almost overpowering. With a final glance back at the fractured mirror, she reached for the handle, and the darkness inside seemed to pulse, as if anticipating her next move. The doors swung open, revealing a long, dark hallway that seemed endless. The air was thick and cold, pressing against her like a physical weight. She hesitated, then stepped inside. Each footstep echoed unnaturally, bouncing off walls that seemed to stretch further with every move. The building groaned under her weight. Shadows clung to the edges of the hallway, shifting as she moved. Every door she passed seemed slightly ajar, the darkness behind them alive with anticipation. A faint metallic smell lingered, mixing with damp stone and decay. Her pulse raced. The faint sound of dripping water echoed through the distance, creating an irregular rhythm she couldn't ignore. The walls seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting subtly, pressing in around her. A chill ran down her spine. She tried to turn back, but the hallway had changed. The entrance had vanished behind her, leaving only unbroken darkness. Panic rose in her chest, but she forced herself to move forward. Every step felt heavier than the last, her body resisting as if the building itself wanted to trap her. The faint light ahead grew dimmer. Shapes moved in the shadows at the periphery of her vision, shifting with impossible speed. Whispers circled her ears, intelligible yet urgent. The room ahead pulsed, almost breathing, waiting. Then the shadows converged. The light flickered once, and she felt herself pulled toward the darkness. Her breath caught. The floor beneath her seemed to disappear, leaving nothing but black void. She stumbled, reaching for the walls, but there was nothing to hold. Time stretched. Every heartbeat echoed like a drum in a hollow space. The air felt thick, almost alive, and the whispers became screams in her head. She closed her eyes for a moment, praying it would end. When she opened them, the corridor was empty. No doors, no walls, no light, only endless shadow. The air was silent, heavier than before. Her footsteps left no sound. Her body moved, but she could not see herself. The building swallowed her completely. The woman was never seen again.